Well, welcome, welcome. Hi, everyone. It's a beautiful day here in Texas. I hope wherever you are tuning in from, it is beautiful weather there for you too, or at least you're staying warm and dry. So today is another very special day, and I'm wearing red to celebrate the Valentine's Love Month. So I'm super excited to be here with you guys today. And I'm going to just take a breath because we have some very special guests on today, and I'm really excited about talking to them. But before we talk to our guests, I want to introduce my co-host here on the 𝗦𝗽cie 𝗍𝗱 show, Miss Wendy Fortino, who is an IFBB celebrity, superstar, figure champ. Let's bring her in, Claudia. And my good friend. Hi, Wendy.
Hello. Thank you. Quite the introduction.
You're welcome. You know, it's been a while since I've had you on. I had the privilege of having you on as a co-host here. So
I know. I missed you.
I miss you too. I know every time we get together and talk, it seems like we're like sisters or something. And then
we are.
I know, right? I wish we lived closer. We were just talking about California and Texas. They're not that far, but then they are.
I know. Seriously. No, I am so excited about today because the Arnold Championship is coming up, and we have the Bikini International Championship coming. We're going to talk to some of the Bikini international athletes, and we're talking to Bikini International champions who have all won the Bikini International. So this is going to be super duper exciting.
I know, right? I know. Yeah. Well, before we get into our awesome guests, I just want to make a note. Thank you so much to our title sponsor for all of the Arnold interviews. And if you've been here, if you haven't been here already and you're just tuning in today, be sure and go back because we did some awesome Wellness International competitors a couple days ago. We talked to them and got some really great information from the Wellness International girls. And we talked to Samson Dowda about a week or so ago, and he's coming in strong for the Arnold Classic. So super excited. So if you're just tuning in today, make sure you go back and listen to those other interviews as well here on the 𝗦𝗽cie 𝗍𝗱 show. So Hemp Help is our title sponsor, and this has been an amazing product. I actually learned about this at the Arnold last year when the 𝗦𝗽cie 𝗍𝗱 show went live and on tour to the Arnold, and we were broadcasting there and interviewing people last year at the Arnold. So can't go this year, but we're so excited to get all the athletes here. And so thank you for your help, and thank you, Hemp Helps, for your sponsorship and all the product keeping me feeling good in my 50s now. I have a few aches here and there.
Can't wait to get my little box.
Oh, I know. You're going to get some too. You'll be trying it out. Yeah, I've been using it for about a year now. Flex Wheeler actually introduced me to the owner of this company at the Arnold. And I'm like, well, if Flex is all about it, then I got to know about this. So anyways, so thank you to Hemp Helps.
The 𝗦𝗽cie 𝗍𝗱 show is brought to you in association with Hemp, the world's leading sports recovery products.
Well, I've had a frozen shoulder for around 5 years now following an accident, and this stuff, put it on, and already I have more movement in my arm. Unbelievable, and it smells gorgeous, so absolutely brilliant. Thumbs up for me.
I tried some of this product, literally rubbed it in. Within 2 minutes, I've gained instant relief.
This is really personal. There's no way that I can really fake this, and I'm not going to fake it because I'm severely in pain. It really works. It really works for me. It really works for everyone else who's tried it. Go to hemphelps.com or follow us on Instagram at hemphelps.
Man, it's awesome when you find something that works for you. And I know we all have a lot of great products, but I am thankful to have Hemp Helps in my closet.
And it smells gorgeous.
It does. All right, Wendy, who have you brought today? Because I came to you asking you for some help to bring in these new amazing athletes that I just haven't had a chance to really get to know. Yeah. And you're kind of, you are right in the midst of all of the competitors, and of course, still competing on the figure stage yourself. And I know, sadly, we didn't get to have figure on stage at the Arnold this year, and I know that's probably a little sadness for you. But I really appreciated you helping me bring in these beautiful bikini champions. So who do you have for us first?
I mean, it's like a no-brainer. We had to have Ashley Kaltwasser. She is no stranger to the Bikini International stage. She's a 3-time Miss Bikini Olympia champion. She has won 37 pro shows and counting. She is the most qualified of any bikini competitor on the stage today to speak about her experience as a top level contender. We all are rooting for Ashley always, and she has a really good shot to claim her Bikini International title back. So we're going to speak with her, and we're super excited to hear a little bit about what's going on in her head and how her mind is spinning. And so we are honored to welcome Ashley Kaltwasser.
Yay. Hi, Ashley.
There's having me on.
Thank you so much for joining us. And I know we are so close to the Arnold. What are we, 11 days out now, or
Something, you know, week and a half. I haven't been counting it that precisely, but I should.
I mean, we're so close. And I just thank you, because I know how tough it is right before a big event, or any event, really. I mean, because you prep the same intensity for every event, whether it's, you know, the Arnold or it's a pro show that, you know, you want to get on. So just bottom of my heart, thank you for joining us here and taking the time. It's great to have you. Okay, I have so many questions.
Oh yeah.
I mean, 37 championships. That's awesome. And what year did, okay, maybe before we go, take me back to who you were as a young Ashley, and how did you get into the bodybuilding, fitness, bikini scene, and then, you know, onto the stage?
Sure. So I've been an athlete my entire life. I was a gymnast as a small child, and eventually I worked my way into track. So track stole my heart from middle school throughout high school and college. So I actually was able to run on a scholarship in college for the 400-meter hurdles.
Yeah.
Yes, my entire life, I've always been in a sport. So whenever I was done with my college track career, I felt very lost, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't training for anything. I wasn't training for a gymnastics event. I wasn't training for a track meet. I felt so lost, and kind of like a big piece of me was missing. So I was following my high school track coach on Facebook still, and I noticed she was like posting these photos of her in figure competitions, and I'm like, that's kind of cool. I want to see what this is about.
When was this?
I started competing in 2011.
Okay.
Yes. So I wanted to see what that was all about. So I went to the gym that she trained at and kind of got a little more information, and I started training for my first bikini competition, which was the Arnold Amateur, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So I competed, you know, in my first show was the Arnold Amateur, which was a huge show. So I was like, go big or go home, right? But I am from Ohio anyway, so it was kind of like a drive, you know? It was like a 2-hour drive from where I was at. So I did the Arnold Amateur, and I fell in love with the sport, and I haven't stopped. So I still love it.
So you started in bikini originally. You didn't try to do figure or anything else. You went straight.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I don't have the genetics for that. I don't have any. It's hard for me to put on muscle.
Oh, that's great. You got great genetics for what you're doing. That's awesome.
Thank you.
What year did you win your first Olympia championship?
2013. So it's been a hot minute. It's been 10 years since my first one.
So you won it in 2013, then you won it again in 2014, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I remember. So I turned pro in 2011, and then I qualified for my first Olympia in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing you come off the stage, and I just remember watching you, and I didn't know how the call-outs went or anything like that. And you're wearing a green bikini, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and you were wearing this green bikini, and you had like these red lips, this beautiful long dark hair. And I just remember going, that girl has like the most perfect butt I have ever seen in my life. I could not believe how perfect your butt was. And you like were coming off the stage, everybody was like giving you high fives. You looked like you had like this really fun personality too. And I was like, I like her. I don't even know how you did. I didn't even know how you did, but I was like, okay. And then I found out later that you won, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. And I'm like, and then I was giving myself like some like, you know, I was like, I know how to call him. I just could tell.
Oh, I love that story for my butt. Oh my gosh, that's so flattering. Thank you.
Yeah, no.
Well, you know, I love your story, because I also come from a track background, and obviously Wendy does too. I didn't get to run in college because I went back horseback riding and horse. Anyways, I opted, I had a choice, horses or track, and I opted horses. But I did get to run back in my 40s. And I went back and run with the USATF Masters
You
Division.
made up for lost time.
Yeah, so I'm a 400-meter runner, 4:21, and I did hurdles, but I only did the short hurdles in high school, and then I never wanted to get back in hurdles because I was afraid that if I got back and I injured myself, and I was like safe with the 400, but I was like, I don't know about doing hurdles again because too competitive. But long story short, I have to share this because all three of us have that track background, and you'll appreciate this. So the first time I race, I'm working on the track all of my career, just because I love to sprint so much. Like all throughout my whole, like the 90s, the 2000s, I still go to the track today, even though I'm not competing right now in anything, but I still go because I love the workouts. But in 2011, I started working with a coach, or 2012, for a specific track, and he was a fan of mine. And he came to the track the first time we met, and he brought my very first cover from 1994. And he's like, I've been following you a long time. His girlfriend was a Olympia contender from Canada. And so he was a real cool, he knew track, but he's like, I've been following you. Can you sign my magazine cover? And then he starts working with me, and he's like, so I know, you've been known for your glutes. He said, but I just have to tell you, you've got really weak glutes. And it was the first time I ever heard like your glutes are weak. And I was like, really? And so he taught me, and I, over the time. So this makes a lot of sense why you say this, Wendy, because about Ashley's glutes, because sprinting, you learn, especially at the competitive level that you guys did, you learn, and I've learned over the years how to engage the glutes for sprinting purposes. And there's no way that they can't get conditioned the way they need to if you're doing sprints. Like no way. They're gonna get in there and mold and be beautiful. And I know my last couple shows that I did, I was sprinting, and a complete different look of my glutes than previous years. So I love track. And that's just, and we had a comment just then said that we had similar, upbringings, Ashley, you and I did. And so my heart is like, I'm like, yo, I love sprinting. So yeah, no doubt those glutes are like ingrained, foundational, and you probably know how to use them standing and walking. You don't, not just when you're working.
Staple glute movement, Ashley. What's your staple glute movement?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, you know what? I like to do donkey kicks on the hamstring curl machine, like get underneath and kick up. I find that that's really good for my glutes. I can really feel it really good.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to start doing that consistently. Okay. I want to know. So you won your first Bikini Olympia title in 2014. Okay. You turned pro. I'm guessing when did you turn pro?
2012.
Okay. So it took you 2 years. At what point between getting your pro card and winning your first Olympia title did you like make a shift in your mind? Like, I think I could win the Olympia. Like what was your process mentally on that?
Sure. So first off, just a slight correction, 2013 was my first Olympia.
So that's a year.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm assuming it's the first time I saw you. I was making it personal. I was making it about me. Okay, go ahead.
But the time between and everything that happened, like it's still shocking that I was able to pull that off. I'm still amazed because I was and I didn't expect myself to win. No one else expected me to win. So it just kind of
maybe that's the secret. No pressure.
That's how I look at it. So I was the biggest underdog. Like literally no one knew who I was. And even on the show day itself, like how they were doing call outs, like I convinced myself like, oh, I'm in the first call out, but maybe they're doing it different this year.
Yeah.
No way I'm in the first call out. So I really surprised myself. So my goal going into the Olympia was like, first off, holy crap, I made it to Olympia. That in itself is, I can't ask for more than that.
Yeah.
So even just being there amongst the girls that I followed and looked up to was such a great experience.
Yeah.
And, I was like, you know what? That's great. If I got top 10, whoa. That might be asking.
I still feel that way.
I'm happy just to be there. So it turns out like how they were, doing the call outs. I was like, there's no way. They must be doing it differently. They're throwing us a curveball. So after prejudging,
They do that sometimes.
yeah, you never know. They might be trying new things. So like in the first girls, and I was one of them in the first
Yeah.
call. And it didn't hit me that I was actually like top 3 until they started, you know, how they place everyone in reverse, like 6th place,
Yeah.
4th. And then when they called the 3rd place girl, I'm like, wait a minute. She was a sellout. Holy. Then I got like the goosebumps. I'm like, and I'm like top 2. And they called 2nd place. And I was like, oh my God, I won. Holy crap. So yeah, you know, as far as like having like the expectation to win or saying I'm going to win one day, I never had that. It was
Yeah.
my goal is just to make it to the stage. And if I do anything better, then icing on the cake. So yeah, it's one thing to meet your goal, but to exceed your goal is so much more meaningful. And, you know, I think a lot of people might misunderstand me and think I'm being pessimistic or not confident or not believing in myself when I say I wasn't expecting to win. But it's a subjective sport and you do what you can do. But at the end of the day, there's only one thing you can control, and that's yourself. You can't control who shows up. You can't control how it's judged, you know, so that's how I look
real
at it.
talk though, like, have you felt like since then you have had more pressure on your shoulders, and how have you dealt with that?
Yeah. Going into, well, I want to know, like, going into your second, the following year, Olympia, how different was the initial like concept? Okay, when you won the first time, you weren't expecting it. Like, I totally understand that. Like, we don't know, right? But then you go back in as the reigning champ. How different was that part for you? That's what I'm curious about. Like, how did that feel?
Yeah, so that definitely the shift became then the pressure. That is one thing that I didn't have previously was pressure. So the good, because it definitely pushed me and made sure like I was on it at all times. Like I cannot let any slack whatsoever. But yes, I will always say there's only one negative thing that comes from winning the Olympia previously, and that's the burden of expectation.
Oh, that's understandable.
Yeah, and even to this day, I still carry the burden of expectation to some extent. You know, because I always like to give the analogy of this, like, you know, when I, like, for example, in 2013, when I was a no one, you know, and I won, it was like, wow, that's incredible. Okay. Even if I were to get like 5th, people would be like shocked, like, wow, like that's incredible. But like, let's say, you know, for example, in 2018, whenever I placed 5th at the Olympia, it was like, oh, I'm sorry.
You know,
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ashley, that sucks. But you know what I mean? So it's like, well,
I do, and I appreciate your honesty on that.
You know, I was like, I was excited to get 5th place. Like, it's getting harder every year, but it's like how I felt about it wasn't how other people felt about it. They felt like anything less than 1st place once you've already won is a disappointment to a lot of people, which I don't look at it that way, but a lot of people can bring you down, not intentionally, but just being like, oh God, I'm sorry. That sucks.
Yeah. Instead of being positive that you were 5th in the world. In that year, it's their issues coming, kind of bringing it forward for you.
I would never know that though, Ashley. Like, one thing I've always admired about you is that you beat to your own drum. You know, I mean, you may have felt all those things, but you exude this energy that I think a lot of people admire about you, that when all these things are coming at you, people are saying whatever they want to say, you're so happy. You do what you want to do. And I, you know, personally, like, I'm always rooting for you, and I'm always like wanting to see you just thrive and succeed. And I always find it kind of funny when people have, you know, get so jealous and so envious of somebody that it's like, what can you possibly think of to bring this girl who's thriving on life down? You know what I mean? But of course, I've experienced that. Monica's experienced that. So we can understand, you know, to some degree what you probably go through. And that also, you know, goes into the amount of shows you've won. You know, you won a lot of shows. And I think that it's awesome that you celebrate that and you continue. I want you to win all the shows.
Yeah.
So actually, with all of this success, obviously role model status emerges, right? And that emerges from the very beginning shows all the way and then only, enlarges over time. Because even your very first show, you'll have people in the gym, I'm sure, and in your family, your friends, whatever, that have started, kind of, you become a role model for them, right? And they watch in everything you do. So how has that affected, how you feel about yourself, or how you come across the, social media or anything? Is it kind of overwhelming, or is it awesome, or how do you feel about that?
It's awesome. Honestly, like, I never take that for granted too. Like, if somebody comes up to me at an event or at the gym and says, like, I've inspired them anyway, that is like so amazing for me to hear. And it's motivation for me too. Cause it's, I never want to lose sight of that and how it feels. Cause I think one thing with becoming successful, a lot of people forget like where they came from and small things, right? Like, for example, many pros that are successful and are winning and have many sponsorship offers, they might have forgotten their first sponsorship they've ever had, even though it's a small one. I never want to forget that feeling because, I remember my first sponsorship or my first time somebody came up to me and the feeling of like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And like, I think some people get a little too used to it and they take it for. That's one thing that I try not to do, is never take it for granted. Savor every single moment, every single little opportunity, because I think that once you get too successful, it's in the back of your mind because you're always on to just bigger and better things when, ultimately you got to remember all those little things that made you happy because they can still make you happy. You just got to cherish it.
All right. Are you married? Do you have children? Like, where are you in that frame, that place in life?
So I have a boyfriend, but no kids. I don't want any kids. Not right now anyway.
I lose sight of kind of, I've been doing this for so long, and like, I lose sight of how old people are in the industry. And I kind of, I know there's so many new generations that have come in. And so it's awesome. So is your boyfriend involved with the industry, or is he completely separate and just cheering you on?
So he used to be in men's physique at the amateur level, but not anymore, which is kind of nice because two people prepping sometimes. But it's good because he gets it. He understands it. He's not going to give me a hard time for dieting or prepping, or I can't go out for drinks or whatever. So he gets it and understands it, but not part of it anymore. So that's probably best. We can get cranky.
Do you have any idea moving forward? And this was something, I thought for myself, because I was a competitor for 26 years. And I wonder, I never thought about it in the beginning of my career, like how many years I'm going to keep competing. I never thought about it. And all of a sudden it's, 26 years. I'm like, oh, wow. So have you thought in your mind, like how many years you want to do this? Or is it just like you're going until you know that it's done?
I think go until it's done, but I can tell you this, I'm just getting started. Okay. So
I love it.
Me, like, as a rookie, I refer to myself as the cockroach of bikini. Okay. Like, I'm really hard to get rid of me. I'm just going to show up and invade. So
no, honestly, I'm so happy to hear you say that because I started competing before you, and I feel the same way. I feel like I'm just getting started also. I turned pro in 2011. I have been to 6 Olympias, and I feel like I haven't even come close to finishing out, So I think that, one of the things that helps people with longevity, and tell me if you agree with this, is the ability to let everything and other people's opinion just like roll off your back and be focused on your vision and your purpose. And when you're like serving your soul and doing your own path, it's kind of like you take accountability for everything. It just seems like you don't have to be on anyone else's timeline. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I agree. I don't necessarily let people's opinions get to me, not in the sense of like trying to put me down. Like when I mentioned earlier about the burden of expectation thing, that those are people usually coming from a good place. Like, oh my gosh, like the pity, right? Genuine.
Yeah.
As far as people like putting me down like in a malicious way. I actually love it so much. You have no idea. I love it so much.
Well, yeah.
I welcome it. And I will tell you something. I've gotten so much crap for competing so much, this is just one example, and this is just how I work.
Yeah.
One year in 2020, I was getting so much crap because I was competing too much and stealing Olympia spots. Competed 4 times. So I was like, you know what? All right. Next year I competed 14 times. So, I'm just saying it's probably not the best to complain about it. So I don't mind people's opinions as far as like, if she competes too much stealing things. Well, keep going. I love it. I love it so much.
So the shows nowadays won't allow, if you've already won, the next person, like second place, they don't get the Olympia.
Oh yeah, that's different, Monica. They changed it. They changed it, Monica.
Cool. That's awesome. Hey, you know what? It's your career too. It's not, at the end of the day, this is an individual sport, and you go for what is best for you and your career and your longevity and what you want to. And you can't help it if you get on there and you're awesome. You can't help it if you have a great genetics and you've worked hard and you've, put the time in. That's okay. Mm-hmm. And, and if people can't handle that, then do better, or, go do 14 shows or, yourself.
So
that's so funny though. You start with 4, okay, I have 14.
To be honest though, I feel like people use that as a scapegoat of why they can't qualify, but there was 52 qualified bikini competitors. Like, I'm sorry.
I work closely with the Olympia committee, and they all love you.
Oh, well, I love
it. They love you. They want to see more of you.
Oh, okay. I love it. I'm here. So yeah, it's just like I'm very strong in my stance, saying like, no, we don't do participation trophy type culture thing. Yeah. No. I'm highly against that. You earn your spot or you don't. And it's just as hard for me too. I don't get any special privileges. You know what I mean? It's hard for me too. Every time I don't know if I'm going to win or not. I never come in assuming I'm going to win. I'm always like, you know what? I'm going to bring my best. Let's see what happens. You don't know who's going to show up. I could be off, but I never assume anything. So it's hard for me too.
Yeah.
I love the challenge.
You change little things like being on the stage so much, I'm assuming that you're perfecting your craft, obviously. What things do you focus on the most every time you step on stage?
Totally. So, I obviously physique, right? Saying, okay, I need to bring this up. I need to get leaner here, whatever. But also prepping techniques for peak week. So every show I do is kind of like a little test for big shows like the Olympia and stuff, right? So I will switch things within my peak week. I will switch hair, makeup, and suit too. But I think most beneficial to me is like posing, right? So you can pose in front of an iPhone all day. You can pose in front of your coach for hours, but there is no experience like the stage. So in the past, I've gotten a little, I don't know, shaky, a little like nervous. Sometimes I get too nervous because I get so excited. But I think being on stage so much has helped with that. Yeah. And work in progress. By no means am I perfect. I will always find every show that I can fix, even if it's something so slight, even if it's like, oh, I should have moved my hair off my shoulder when I did this. There's always something that I can learn and something I can fix.
Mm-hmm. So with your training, what type of routine are you doing throughout the year to be able to maintain where you are?
Mm-hmm. So I try not to let myself get too soft during the off season. Even though
with 14 shows, how do you have an off season?
Not an off season.
Many breaks. I try to stay close to stage. So that allows me to, if I'm in a state of like maintaining, I don't have to diet as hard and I don't have to do as much cardio. But for now, I'm doing like 6 days of weight training. I'll do like 4 cardios currently. And then on the weekends, sometimes I'll do a 10K race because they're fun. So I like to do non-traditional cardio methods because I get bored. with treadmill and step mill. I like to switch it up. So I'll do like a race. I'll do sometimes Orange Theory as cardio.
Oh yeah.
Do you ever go to the track and play with your running again on the track?
No, I don't. I should. You know, I'm a sprinter at heart. I just haven't sprinted in a long time. I've just been doing distance just because I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do 10K. I might as well, you know, I got to burn some calories. So yeah.
I don't know if this probably isn't something you have to worry about, but like for me, I'm 5 feet tall. I have a short torso. And when I was running track, when I first started figure, I had really developed obliques. And so I was like SpongeBob on my sides. And so I had to work really hard to atrophy my sides. And so if I hit the track and I do some sprinting, like the next day, my sides will be sore. Like I could already tell that, oh my gosh, because from the trunk rotation, you know, you're recruiting those obliques from the sprinting. And so I think my glutes would probably be better if I could sprint, but it's like, you know, weighs out pros and cons. I mean, is that something you have thought of? I mean, your body type is so much different than mine. I mean, your hips are a lot more narrow. You have a longer torso. You probably don't have to worry about the things I do, but is that something that you've noticed or have had to work through?
That's a really good point. There are some things I'll avoid because I don't want to get like, especially in bikini, you know, you don't want to build up your midsection too much. So the distance running doesn't seem to activate that muscle as much as sprinting might, or you know what I mean? But I do see, like, for example, too, I wouldn't myself do CrossFit because it's different, it builds different muscles. And I also wouldn't do boxing either for that rotation purpose. Right. So although I don't have thick obliques, I do have like pretty thick, like serratus, like my, you know what I mean? So I don't want any more of that.
Yeah.
So I do try to actually minimize any core engagement. I don't train abs at all because even for me, like my abs are already
pretty. You don't have to. Yeah.
For bikini, you can't overdo the abs. And I've gotten close to being too much like for bikini within the ab department. So I don't want to develop them any more than they are.
It's so important when people are listening to this that they understand that each of us, like, because I'm sitting there thinking that my physique looked better than it ever did with track. And being, I was on the track 5 days a week. And then I threw in, you know, figure shows. So for me, that worked amazing. I was only in the gym twice a week. Yeah. But it's so important that people understand what works, you know, and you have to find out. And that's when you spend enough time and you give yourself the opportunity to spend that quality time. And like you're talking about, Ashley, is you really try to analyze, you know, every time, like, what could I do a little bit different? How can I tweak something? And it's those small little things over time that really add up to us understanding our physiques, what works for us, what we need to do to maintain or to become better, right? To increase this physique to what we're needing it to be. So it's awesome to hear that. Do you work with any coaches? It sounds like you do a lot by yourself.
No, I work with a coach, Team Elite Physique. I've been working with him since late 2017, and I prepped, you know, for I did take a year off of training in Olympia too. In 2017, I didn't step foot on stage.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Like, where did Ashley go?
Huh?
We were like, where did Ashley go?
Oh,
that year.
You know, I just need to be normal, I guess. It wasn't worth it, believe me. But yeah. So for my comeback, he did prep me for my first show back in 2018 after my year break. And I loved him as a coach, and he's been doing my preps ever since.
So that year you took off, was that just you needing kind of a break from everything, or was it trying to regroup, or?
So,
and if it's a personal, you don't talk about it, that's fine too. But I think people would be interested to know that because, you know, so many of us get going and then we just go. And all of a sudden it's all these years and you're like, did I ever take a break? You know, and, you know, more than just a few months and the years, you know, it's something to talk about.
Right.
Yeah. So, definitely the burden of expectation caught up with me for sure. So I had won 3 Olympias. And then that puts me at 2013, 14, and 15. And then 2016, I definitely lost motivation big time. The only show I competed in was the Olympia. That was the only show I did. And my focus just was not there. It was not. I moved to LA. I was just kind of more into being social. And, you know, at that point, after I did the Olympia in 2016, I got fourth, but I just, not that my placing was bad, but it was just like my mind wasn't there.
Yeah.
And, you know, the outside pressure of like, kind of, you know how people say, oh, balance, you got to be normal. You know what I mean? That kind of like, it won me over a little bit. And I was, yeah, maybe I should just be normal for a year and just try to have this balance. And, you know, ultimately I didn't train that whole year. I didn't really diet. I gained like 25 pounds, which was a lot for me. You know, I'm not a big person. It was a lot. It's the most I've ever weighed. I was up to 145. So, yeah. And looking back at everything, and just to give a summary, it wasn't worth it. It was not, it was probably my least happy year of my life.
I tried out the stand-angled balance stuff.
Yeah.
You can't. People that aren't a professional athlete, you can't take that. Like, you can't take a year and go, I'm just going to go be normal. Like, we're not, you know, we're not in a normal category of just it okay is okay, you know, being normal. And there's nothing wrong with being normal. But when you are a top athlete, you either stay in that place and you keep driving because that's what, you know, is part of your everything, and you have a purpose for it. I mean, obviously, if you don't have a purpose for it, you lose interest, and then that's one thing. But if there's a purpose, a career, some, you know, personal development, whatever it is, as a top athlete, and you know, y'all know in this industry, it's so small. Like, what are we, 0.5% of population that can do and stay in this industry for more than, you know, 4 or 5 years? Like,
but ultimately it was a good thing, right? I mean, you took that year off and it made you like reignite your passion. It made you realize you don't want to do that. So sometimes it's, in a weird way, it's almost like a blessing in disguise when you veer off course, because it made you realize I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I do regret taking the whole year off and letting myself go that much, though. I definitely have regrets. If anything, I should have just taken maybe a half year off and done a few more shows. But you're right, it did kind of, you know how they say you don't know what you got till it's gone kind of thing? Yeah. I realized what I had. And I am now extremely extra grateful now. Not that I wasn't before, but even more so now. Just being super grateful for the little things and realizing okay, I'm not normal. Whatever, who cares?
But and the people that are trying to tell you that, they're not usually the other competitors like Wendy and myself. They would be people that just they can't understand what you're doing, and they are in it. Sometimes it makes them feel uncomfortable that they're not doing something, or that they're not stepping up to do something,
or they're doing what you're doing and they're just jealous. No.
Well, I mean, it comes down to that sometimes too, right? Like, you hate to think that, but that's just human nature. And so that's awesome that you were able to get through that and build back into, you know, your career and come back so strong and powerful, and still be a light for other people, because, you know, you can see the way you talk about it and your smile and your demeanor. And I'm sure, you know, this is just a few minutes of us getting to talk, but you're probably a very big light for a lot of people when you're around them, you know. And it's so nice to get to know some of these top athletes that are, you know, the elite of the industry right now, because it's nice for me to see that we've got a lot of really intelligent, wonderful women, you know, from the ones that I've been able to talk to already with wellness and into today. Like, it's awesome. So this has been really fun for me to get to hear and see. We have some great representation for our industry.
Oh
yeah, I love it. I always say I'm like so lucky. I wouldn't have my life any other way. I wouldn't want to be any other person doing anything else than what I'm doing here.
Oh, I love that.
That's great. Well, that takes care of my next question. What about Ashley? Are you doing anything coaching or, you know, poise and presentation stuff? Are you working with anybody individually from time to time? Do you have clients?
So I do work for my coach, Adam, Team Elite Physique. But yeah, I do some online coaching. I'm only part-time because my main focus is my competing journey until I'm done. But as far as other like side jobs and stuff, it all kind of revolves around fitness app, fitness sponsorships, things like that. But yeah, it all revolves around fitness. So it makes it really convenient. And I, although there's nothing in particular, only one thing to focus on, I have other things that kind of help the other, if that makes sense.
Yes, 100%. I think we're all in that kind of category. You try to, bring in different aspects. It's like you're the tree, you got branches going out, but it's all the same coming. Yeah. What about any sponsors that you would like to talk about and share?
Sure. My main sponsor, 𝗦𝗽cie_ci𝗿𝗲𝗱, and they're amazing. Okay.
What was that? Repeat that again.
𝗦𝗽cie_ci𝗿𝗲𝗱.
𝗦𝗽cie Pharma. Got it.
Yeah, supplement company. I love them dearly. They make great stuff, and they are very supportive in my journey. And I'm going into being grateful and stuff. I would not be able to compete as much as I do if it weren't for them. They take care of travel and accommodations and everything competition related. They're great. Super supportive. I love them. But as far as other sponsorships, we have Angel Competition, Bikini, Shoe Fairy, Liquid Sun Rays, Trifecta. I have a lot, but those are like some of the main ones.
That's awesome. So you have a lot of help getting ready, because it does take a family to get you ready for this show, right? Like coming up, it's crazy. People think it's such an individual thing, but it really is. You've got a team to get you there, and all the sponsorships come in, and they all take care of certain pieces of the puzzle, and then you're there. Dress me, and you go walk and show that awesome physique. What do you think you're most excited about coming into the Arnold this next week or so, and what day do you get there?
So I'm actually going to firstly, I'm heading to Pittsburgh to shoot for nbcnewsonline.com, and I'm leaving on Thursday for that. I shoot on Friday, and then Friday my parents are picking me up from Akron, Ohio, and I'm going to stay with them the week before Arnold, and then they're going to drive me to Columbus on Tuesday. So yeah, I get to spend some time with them. I always visit them when I'm in town for the Arnold, since they're so close. So
that's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and will they come to the show and be there for the show and get to see everything?
No, that's not really their thing, and that's okay.
Okay. That's totally fine. And then at the Arnold, will you be in any booths, or will you be making rounds after you compete?
So I will be at the Meet the Athletes event. But as far as booth work, I'm not entirely sure yet.
Yeah.
If they want to meet me, I'll be at
TBD.
But maybe a booth.
Okay. And then are you competing on Friday or Saturday?
Just Saturday.
Just Saturday. Okay. Yeah, so you've got some time there. You might be. So I guess if people want to see you and they can't make the Meet the Olympias, maybe you'll have posting on Instagram or something, if you're in one of the booths or something, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Is there can you just share with us how people can get hold of you if they want to work with you on any social media platforms there? Thank you, Claudia.
Somebody already put it up on the screen.
Yep, Claudia got it. There's your Instagram. And can people just reach you there, or is there a website?
Yeah, definitely. There. And then for online coaching, it would be teamelitephysique.com.
Team Elite. And I guess they can find that on Instagram there too.
Definitely.
Awesome. Is there anything else that you would like to share or feel the need to share with fans? Or do you have any advice? How about that for up and coming bikini contenders that would love to walk in your shoes someday?
Sure. Okay.
Your fairy shoes.
Love getting asked this question. So, every show, like I mentioned, is a learning experience. I think one big mistake that newbies make is their expectations are a little too high. Your first show, it's going to be rough. It's going to be shaky. No one really nails it their first show. You're going to mess up. Your prep might go wrong. And, you might get a placing that you weren't wanting. Okay. But I think for that first show or first few shows, don't put so much focus and weight on your placing itself, rather than a starting point and knowing that okay, I made a mistake here. That's not going to happen again. I learned from it. I improved from it and move on and on, because a lot of times the the rookies, they have this expectation. I'm going to win. And when they don't, they get discouraged, they get disappointed, and then they quit, which is a shame, because if they just would have kept going and making those improvements, and even if it might even just be small adjustments, I think they have this idea that like the Olympia champions, they just kept winning all their shows. They won their first show. They won every single show. That's not how it works. I didn't win the first show, and I'm sure a lot of people can say the same. So you just kind of have to learn from it and keep going. Don't get discouraged.
That's awesome. I love it. Well, best of skill. I'm not a luck person, so I like to say best of skill, and may God bless your travel there and your time on stage. And I know you're going to have a blast. You can just tell that you're that kind of person, that you're having fun no matter what you're doing backstage, on stage, and that you're going to benefit everyone that's around you. So thank you so much, Ashley, for taking time today.
Thank you.
We're rooting for you, Ashley.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Hey guys, if you've enjoyed the 𝗦𝗽cie Brant Show, don't forget to subscribe, ring that bell, and if you have any ideas or suggestions for the show, comment below and I'm happy to get back to you.